The narratives and stories that inundate our lives have the power to influence our understanding of ourselves, determine societal values, and subsequently shape our perception of the world around us and our place within it. William Shakespeare's stage play Othello and Baz Luhrmann's film The Great Gatsby reveal storytelling as an indispensable force in controlling an individual's public image, shaping one's perception of themselves, and manifesting our values collectively as a society. Shakespeare and Luhrmann both utilize language forms and features appropriate to their textual forms to demonstrate how narrative operates on various levels to dictate our lives. An in-depth comparison of these texts unveils the duplicitous nature of the stories we share and receive and their role in shaping our personal and collective worlds. By sharing and receiving stories, an individual is able to manipulate their public identity to reform their social status and find their own place within a society by challenging its contextual macro-narrative. The composers convey the power of narrative to their audiences through Othello and Gatsby, who use storytelling to alter their place in their respective social and cultural contexts in an attempt to eliminate their position as outsiders. Set in the 17th century Venice, Othello holds Elizabethan values and follows the societal structure created by the Great Chain of Being, which positions Othello, a Moor, as an outsider on the societal fringes. However, Shakespeare pushes against the racial stereotypes of his time by having Othello use storytelling to rebel against his outsider status. The accusation made against Othello reflects the racial stereotypes held by the contextual audiences, characters, and the play's macro-narrative. Shakespeare uses witchcraft in Othello's monologue as a metaphor for the power of storytelling itself, allowing Othello to take control of his public narrative in the eyes of the Duke and audience, thus demonstrating the power that narrative has on the perception of a responder, which Shakespeare highlights again in Othello's final monologue. Othello attempts to control his public narrative, pleading that he be remembered not as a cultural outsider, but as a Venetian. Shakespeare uses high-modality language to position the audience into empathizing with Othello and interpret his actions as being a result of Iago's manipulation. This outlines how an individual uses narrative to control their image. Similarly to Othello, Gatsby uses storytelling to create his public identity and gain acceptance from his society, revoking his outsider status. In The Great Gatsby, set in the 1920s, Gatsby is able to control the way in which others perceive him through the telling and receiving of stories. New York City during the economic boom saw the birth of the American dream, Gatsby's aspiration. He uses the storytelling of others to build his reputation, demonstrating how an individual's public narrative is a product of stories told about us as much as the stories we ourselves tell.
Only one. Who is this Gatsby?
Luhrmann uses a point-of-view camera shot to place viewers in Nick's shoes, allowing us to feel as overwhelmed as he does from the abundance of stories, portraying Gatsby's reputation as a revered insider. This scene reveals how he is able to craft a public identity without having to tell it himself, illustrating the power of storytelling.